What's happening, everyone? Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Yesterday was a crazy day. Finally got everything under control. Got everything good to stream yesterday, and today back in action. Pretty much action-packed week, I gotta say. Tomorrow I got RG3 coming on, and then next week, oh man, I got Access coming on this week too. Access Live is coming on, I believe, Thursday. RG3 tomorrow. Today, Ben Sierra. Excited to talk to Ben though. This is someone I keep seeing these really cool stats and charts and stuff coming across on Twitter, and a lot of these, I think we need to really appreciate people who make, really come from the data analytics and really go out of their way to make these just really interesting bits of information we can use to see, oh wow, is things going up, are things going down, like how are things trending? That's always been super fascinating to me. So I always like to highlight people who are doing good work in that area. So yeah, we got Ben coming on today. Action-packed week from there. I'm not sure what's going on Friday yet. We'll see. And then next week, starting to be action-packed as well. And then the week after that, we have PulseChain Founders Week, I believe, which is going to be really cool. Second week of October. So I hope your bodies are ready for lots of great content. I hope to keep creating it and making some good stuff and getting some good guests to come on to talk about this amazing ecosystem that we're all too fascinated with. Can you be too fascinated? I don't know. Let me say hi to the chat real quick, and I'll bring Ben in, and we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. What's up, Guy? Welcome. Hex Edits, good morning. Good morning to you. Yeah, it is a little early my time. I guess actually mid-morning for me, depending on what time I get up. But what's happening, Umberto? Greetings to the Dominican Republic. I'm going to visit there one day. I've heard it's a very nice place to visit. I'll have to check it out one day. Do love the down south, all the southern places down there. Pretty cool stuff. DJ and Hexkin, what's happening? Good morning to you. And yeah, tomorrow RG3, and also I'll be a guest on DeFi Down Under later where's that Thursday? No, that's Thursday. Yeah, RG3 tomorrow morning. Thursday, guest on DeFi Down Under after having Access on the show. And yeah, it's going to be a great week. So anyways, without further ado, welcome to the show for the first time, Ben Sierra. How's it going?
Hey, I'm happy to be on the show. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, man, you made it hard not to come on the show. Where you're one of the people who I've seen posting a lot of really cool charts and just different stats, and that's something definitely I think is important and just super fascinating in the community to have people who are creating these kinds of just data resources for people to say, oh, well, this is actually growing, or oh wow, this is going down. I wonder, either to make decisions or just feel more confident in different positions, or otherwise just look at things and be like, this is the greatest ecosystem on earth, like kind of confirmation on that part too. So man, you made it hard not to have you on the show. Keep doing all the great work. So thanks for all the stuff you've done so far. It's very exciting.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. Well, that was exactly my my vision, for creating these charts. I wanted to show it to people how the system is used from different angles, always posting something new that they have never seen before, so that people within can get confidence of staying in, or new people who want to get in to understand maybe the history via data, or for people who like to trade, maybe there are some interesting signals or user data. Who knows? There are so many ways of how you can use these charts. And I think HEX has the best charts ever, hands down, because all the data is on chain, which is great for, a data person like me.
Yeah, you never know when there's the person who's just about to click sell it all, get out, and then they see a tweet that we're like, actually, I don't know, maybe I should reevaluate this. Actually, this is a pretty good product. So yeah, I hope your work and many other people's work can get people, at least make them informed. It's not about not about telling people what to do, but just giving people the information to decide for themselves. That's what I love about seeing this type of stuff come out. Yeah, what you want to kind of give us an intro to your story and just how you found the RH ecosystem, how you got into HEX and crypto and all that?
All right. short, long version, or start with the short and then go into the long version?
Okay.
Well, the short version is I'm basically, coming from the economics field. And as an economist, I looked at back then at the world and at how the economy is structured. And I thought I would like to find the best store of value because that will protect me from inflation. So this was kind of my initial thing that I was kind of searching for. And I found basically Bitcoin. And then throughout Bitcoin, I found at one point, Richard Hart through some interviews which he made. And then basically his thinking is very similar to mine. And then he was able to explain even more things about Bitcoin. So I started listening to him. And then he cares kind of about the same things like I care, being like a super great store of value. And then he creates this other thing, which is called HEX, which in my mind, it's just a better design of a store of value system. And I think HEX is basically the best store of value system which is out there in the world. And we can go deep down on that. But that's how I got into HEX. And from there on, I was trying to support the system, but I didn't have as much time like now. So I made more and more time. And what I built now and all of these charts that I'm basically posting on a daily basis is actually a work which I started in 2021. So back then I started working on it. And all of that work basically led to the charts which you can see now.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I do want to drill down into you're claiming HEX is the greatest store of value. Everyone's looking at the price chart, being like, "What are you talking about right now? That's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing a store of value. I'm seeing the thing go down 90-some%." How do you do you want to explain that? Like, what you found that's so special about HEX and what doesn't worry you about these, the extreme volatility, for example?
Yeah, from a system perspective, I was always talking about a store of value system that where you basically can own a share in that system, which is not getting diluted. So you kind of are able to own the same amount. Or you can even increase that amount of share within that system. And the best way to design a system like that, where you can increase your relative share within the system towards others, would be a system where you do it with time. And HEX does exactly that. So when you take your HEX and you lock it up for longer than the average stake length, then it means that you increase your share within that system. And this is, for me, in theory, and before HEX launched, I found this to be, like, in theory, a better system of storing value. Now, of course, it comes down to people to understand how the system works and then to adapt it and to use it. And okay, we're 90, depends on which chart you look at, if you look at the combined HEX chart or not. We're down 98, 99%, you name it. But that's kind of a crypto thing. And that's also a thing, if you want to be decentralized, you need to go through that kind of volatility. Everything that is not decentralized, you get more stability, but you also don't appreciate in the long term. And store value systems usually tend to go up within the long term, but are very volatile in the short term. Even if you look at gold and in relation to, like just fiat systems. Fiat systems are great for basically having stability from one day to the other, or from 1 month to the other, where you go to your grocery shop and you get kind of the same prices. Now, maybe month by month is not exactly true anymore, but day by day, it's still true for fiat systems. Yeah. But for store value systems, it fluctuates very much in between months and days, especially. But over the long term, they go up in value. Yeah, so that's kind of an explanation of why HEX would be the best one. And now we could look at like store value systems of gold or of Bitcoin, and how they are basically inferior in the design.
Yeah, would love to. What do you got on that?
Well, okay, let's maybe start with Bitcoin. Web and Bitcoin, you need to secure the system state, you need to secure the blockchain, and therefore you have proof of work, you have the mining. I think a lot of people know this argument that miners, they have to use electricity, they have to pay the electricity bills. So it's a negative externality, and they need to sell down basically the Bitcoin price. Whereas in HEX, it's a smart contract, you don't actually need to sell it down, right? You use time instead of electricity. So that's one thing. The second thing is that Bitcoin is inflationary. So you as a holder, you're getting diluted. The miners bring the new supply, but you as a holder don't get that supply. So you're getting diluted. You can't maintain the relative share towards others within the system. And yeah, therefore I think it's inferior in theory. And the other thing is that, okay, you might say, yeah, but Bitcoin, you have only 21 million coins. That is only theoretical, because when we reach the 21 millionth coin, then maybe miners want to still play the game and still maybe mine some new Bitcoin. And maybe they kind of can convince the network to upgrade, because maybe transaction costs are not enough for them. Who knows? We have never seen that. We have never seen a proof of work blockchain system at the end where every coin is mined. We haven't seen that. So the 21 million is basically just theoretical. That's kind of, yeah, for Bitcoin, the arguments that I can currently think of. Should we go with gold?
Yeah, let's go on to gold. I'll bring up, I wrote an article a while back, HEX versus Bitcoin as well. I'll put up there. But yeah, while you're going for gold, I'll just reference that while you're talking on this one.
You have any other like interesting thought towards like the HEX and Bitcoin comparison?
Yeah, one sec. I'll put up the.
I mean,
there are writing about this.
There's some technical considerations of security.
Yeah, the security part. Actually, I would. Let's see. Let me bring this up. So this is something I wrote last year about HEX versus Bitcoin. I'll put it in the chat. So yeah, I did actually talk about security, although I would say that it's a little, I think it's a little apples and oranges to talk, smart contract that's, unless Ethereum literally, gets taken over, and otherwise it's kind of hard to change that part. However, I think that the whole ability for to limit the attack surface is a valid thing. Like it is, with Bitcoin, it can be changed. It is less modular. I wouldn't say it's not modular. I wouldn't say it's spaghetti code, even though I love RH, but I would say, we got billions of dollars back in this. There's some smart people buying Bitcoin as well. But I would say the limiting the attack surface where it's been audited, it's encapsulated in a smart contract. As long as the network's running, it's running. That is actually there is something to be said there for as far as security goes. So talk a little bit about security there. Features. I think features is the biggest thing I would say Bitcoin is just inferior on, because I mean, just going back to Richard's point, what can you do with Bitcoin? You can send it, receive it. Maybe you can mine it, but then what are you doing from there? You're just selling it down for electricity. You're securing the network, but it's over secured. You can go through that angle too. But I think having a system that's literally built for earning yield trustlessly is a game changer, and it's something that Bitcoin can't do. And every time somebody tries to do it, it always ends up to like some centralized mess, and everyone loses all their money through shadow banks and stuff. So I think that's, if nothing else, I'm like, why buy HEX, or why invest in HEX? Why be part of the HEX community versus Bitcoin? Well, we have this game-changing feature, which literally solves the problem, and it does it in a very economical, pun intended way. So I'll talk about features here, usability, bunch of different stuff. Trust. Actually, this is funny. Having written it in 2022 is, Richard has debated any and every person challenges ideals for HEX and PulseChain, from lawyers to Bitcoin maximalists to famous people across industries. Comes on top every single time. Just flip through the videos yourself. So better founder. I'm going to go with that too. Just because why not? And community. You don't have to go through each and every one. And then back then, the 8 cents to 68,000 for Bitcoin. Great price performance. However, we hit around 54 cents or so. Debatable depending on what chart you look at. I know Ben knows what I'm talking about on that. And then I just think I basically made the case here. Have some references and stuff that just all around HEX is a better product. But yeah, any of these you want to pick and riff on for a minute?
I was muted, sorry.
All right.
What was your last question? To pick apart one of these?
I said any of these you want to pick and riff on for a minute, talk about for a minute.
No, I think it's a great summary that you have. I mean, there are definitely some points which are not just about like the store of value theory that I'm putting into place, but going into technical reasons. You go also basically into community aspects and adoption aspects, and I mean, I like Bitcoin as well, don't get me wrong. I just like HEX a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be like this holy war of like choosing one or the other and like making the other one look bad. It's you can like I like Ethereum too. I like Bitcoin. I like Ethereum. I just like HEX and PulseChain much more.
For people who like less volatility, but they still want to go into crypto, maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum are great assets to hold for them. So I still recommend it to some folks. But yeah, you can also say that, for example, Bitcoin has the best liquidity in whole crypto. So billionaires would more likely to buy that. It makes more sense for them.
Sure.
And regulatory clarity for Bitcoin. But that's not like a theoretical store of value point. It's more like how the implementation and how historically it already grew. And HEX is new on the store of value market. Not that new, but
No, I think you make a lot of good points. We can stick on the economics perspective as well as we go through Bitcoin, or if you want to go on to gold, we can talk about that too.
Yeah, well, gold has also great other attributes which crypto coins don't have. Right, it's physical. It's it has a different kind of security, but it also comes with a lot of storage costs, and especially how do you want to secure it? And if you don't hold it at your home or in one of your real estates or locked up somewhere safe, then you hold most likely a paper that you own something. And yeah, that's not really owning it like we do with our crypto, where we hold our keys, so we hold our coins. Yeah, but in a sense, it's naturally limited, so nobody can change it, not even socially. So there you have like a positive for gold. But who knows, maybe there's a lot of supply which we haven't discovered yet, and then we discover it maybe in 10 years from now, and then all of a sudden.
What about the asteroids? What about the comets and the asteroids we're going to be mining?
The asteroids. True. I mean, it's a bit far-fetched, but if that technology is growing, and I mean, SpaceX is making a lot of leaps, you know, then it's more likely than that we can do stuff like that. Maybe not in our lifetime, only if we extend it.
Yeah, that is something that a lot of people seem to be working on more these days. So we may get into a little bit later too. I think just on your point of investing in Bitcoin or Ethereum or even gold, for people who just prefer less vol. I literally had this conversation the other day. It's like, I think it's the easiest way to explain it is, assuming that you think, all these things, assume that none of them are scams. They're all just not going to get rug pulled. Gold not going to get rug pulled. HEX not going to get rug pulled. Bitcoin, all that stuff. And people are going to continue to invest in it. They're going to be able to onboard more people. There's going to be more and more involvement and resources and investment, all that stuff. And it's going to last. It's going to stand the test of time over long periods of time. Assuming all that, you put that together to make them all on a fair playing field. And then you say, okay, which one in the current time do you want to have more volatility? Do you want to have more risk to the upside, or do you want to have less? And do you want to have, lower amount of gains, more stability, more liquidity? Like, what is it that you value? It comes down to that. And what is it that you can tolerate? Like, what you value and what you can tolerate. And some people, they cannot tolerate the wild swings down. And they may be in the community for a while, and they may leave, and they may come back later when things are more stable, but less gains are here. That's the thing nobody talks about either. How many people are we going to onboard once things become super legitimate? Everyone, there's liquidity everywhere, and a lot of the mad gains are gone, but like the stable gains are still there, and people actually start using it for to replace whatever it is, whatever investment product they got, whether 401k or whether it's their CD at their bank, or like when people start doing that and all the mad gains are gone. Like no one's kind of like thinking about the future aspect of all these tools that are meant to last, way into the future, and can be used for years at a time. Like, 5555, we talk about a lot, 15 years, or just laddered out and stuff too. So the mad gains are here when the risk is the highest. So you don't have to buy HEX right now. You can buy it in 10 years or something. However, right now is the time where everything's up in the air, where, one perspective is, nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, a lot of people have conviction and are confident and say all this stuff is just a distraction or just a bump in the road or whatever too, with all the regulatory stuff going on and otherwise. But you can choose. You can buy HEX now. You can buy it later. It's just what kind of appetite you have, what you value, and what your tolerance level is. I think it's the easiest way and the fairest way to look at it.
More choice for the user is great. You can choose between all of these store of value products. They exist, and HEX is an addition, and HEX even innovates on the store of value system in my eyes. And another great thing about HEX versus the others is that it has the most cleanest data which you can verify.
Okay.
And that's beautiful, because you see just everything and how it works. You don't know exactly what the gold supply is, right? And then you go on Bitcoin, okay, you know what the supply is, but how is the trading going on? Like who bought, who didn't buy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, in HEX, you can see that basically. So you have even more data, even more clarity. That's also just great. It could change, of course, but I love it. And I hope that HEX on-chain trading will be always here and will be most of the trading, like something like 90% at least.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
I would hope.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great segue into charts, which we'll get into. But before we get into that,
Sure.
so what is the alternative? Like, so you're saying, the data could us to not assume it'll be around forever because the systems may change. How could they change? Like, just more OTC deals or more more not transparent systems that blockchain could move to? Like, how would you see it not being available in the future?
Not being available. Well, I think it will be always available in the future. I think there are, especially as it might grow. I mean, we expect it to grow. I mean, we're in the HEX and in the RH ecosystem. So we expect it to grow. And when it grows, we might reach the point that there are many users who actually, for them, maybe it's a bit too complicated to buy it on a decentralized exchange, which I hope it won't be, but it might be that there are these users. So they want an even more streamed-like process and they want to buy it at an exchange. And if that happens, then maybe it makes sense to take part of the liquidity and put it on a centralized exchange so that you get basically onboarded directly into HEX and you don't buy Pulse or Ethereum before you swap it into HEX.
Interesting.
And then it's the question of how much of the liquidity are in those centralized exchanges, or or maybe in a fund locked in in America. You have that investor fund there, like Grayscale. I just forgot the term.
Yeah, like the HEX Investment Trust. There's a few different institutional products.
Exactly, institutional products. So there you would also not see basically how many people are buying and selling, because that couldn't be on chain. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It just makes me think of. It makes me think of some of this like stablecoin and fiat on-ramp stuff. Like Coast is doing some stuff around that with PulseChain too. I wonder if I wonder if we'll have our own sort of essentially centralized exchanges where, if you could buy, if there's a pool of funds where you're buying it from a centralized entity, but they're within the community. I wonder how how okay people are with that versus having everything on chain and using some kind of swap function to do it. Yeah, interesting.
I like the on chain. I would like to have everything on chain. So when people get into a blockchain, the best would be if they kind of send their money to that centralized party, and then they get a token, basically a stable coin, and they can mint a stable coin directly. I think this new service, I think it's called Coast or something like that on PulseChain. I think they do it in that way. I'm not really much into it. I just saw it, and I think that's what they do. Basically, you can mint a stable coin directly on chain, and then whatever you buy with it, if you buy Pulse with it or HEX, then the trading is there. Right. And then you see, and then there's nothing hidden, which is off the blockchain. And that would be the best if it's set up in this way. But who knows, maybe regulatory requirements are there and then you need to do some other things. The world is not ideal.
Well, I wonder, so is that best or would it be, I wonder if there's a way, or if we'll see in the future where you basically buy HEX or buy Pulse or whatever the blue chips are, for example, that are being offered, and in the background it buys the stable coin with the money, but then automatically does the trade to get you the new coin, to removing even that particular thing from it. I wonder if that'll be. I can see that being a feature as well, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what's the easiest way for people, the less amount of clicks where they have the coin they want. And hopefully the coin they want is the coin we want.
Yeah, I mean, for them, it would be great if they would be swapped immediately into whatever they want. automatically for the cheapest possible way. The question is that the best way for the data to be on chain, or is it like, does it have to be off chain?
That's true. That's true.
We will see.
Yeah. All right. Rusk is asking for either number go up or chart. One of those. Yeah. What do you got to show us today?
All right. I brought you a special new chart which nobody has ever seen before. How about that?
I'm very excited. Well, let's do it, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, you told me before the stream you want like some growth chart or users chart or something like that to look at. I mean, we can look at all sorts of things that I have, but I thought, okay, I make one very interesting one. I call it the believers chart.
All right, I like it
because it's all the addresses over time having 15-year stakes. And you can see basically over time how many 15 years stakers you had at any given time.
Okay, let's do it, man. I want to see the believers chart.
Yeah.
Let's share your screen and we'll get into it.
Cool.
Believers chart.
One second.
Sure.
Okay. All right. I think you need to approve it.
Yep. All good.
Here we go. It looks like it's growing. At least.
Yeah. Number go up. Yeah. Let's explain this. What are we looking at exactly? And is this good or bad?
We look at a full timeline from since HEX was basically since HEX launched until now, of HEX addresses who have 15 years active stakes. And it's on Ethereum, so it's not PHEX, it's EHEX. Sorry for that. I only have HEX data currently.
Gotcha.
But to understand the growth, I think that you can see here also very nicely. We can just see at the very beginning that December 9th, let's say, we had 262 addresses, and we grew from there. Let's go maybe along the timeline. We grew, especially we had here a bump that was November 2020, big payday. And then we grew, I mean, very steadily. And let's say here we had a bump. What's that? That's kind of September 2021, October 2021. All right, all-time peak. But we're still only at 10K users, 10K addresses with 15-year stakes. That's not all-time high. All-time high is now. Let's go further. Let's go. And then we have here a really nice bump. That's March 2022, and Hadron launched, basically with all the HSIs. So that gave us a bump. Then we go further, and we have May 2022, a bump. What can that be about? May 2022. Any clue?
That's when mid-May. It's coming to mind. Mid-May.
Mid-May? What's mid-May?
Yeah, mid-May. Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is when people expected PulseChain to launch. Mid-May 2022.
All right.
Yeah.
True. A lot of people thought that it would launch. Yeah. Because I think back then, the Ethereum people also wanted to launch like mid-May, the ETH 2.0, which then they delayed. So yeah, you're right. It would explain. And some people wanted to show their belief. And then we go further. We have August 2022, which is ICOSA launch. So I guess a lot of people minted some 15-year stakes.
Yep.
And then later on, we had in November 2022, again, actually massive growth here from the beginning of November with 32K addresses until beginning of December, almost 36K. Yeah, I don't know. It was birthday. It was HEX birthday.
Yeah, that's the only notable event is I can think of as HEX December 2nd would be the third HEX birthday.
We're pretty much down. Everybody thought it's done. I remember that. We still had to go a little bit more down. But yeah, and then we grew from there as well, all the time. And even now we're growing on the Ethereum chain, and we have now, is it September 11? Okay, maybe I didn't update exactly to the last date, but it's September 11. We have almost 39K addresses. Would you believe?
39K, wow. This is not just HEX. This is the believers. 39K addresses have 5555.
Exactly, and they're all individual addresses, not the same. Yeah, from 120K stakers, 39K are believers. I think it's. I don't know.
I can see that. I could see that. I could see there being in the community where there are people who literally. I don't even think it's. I mean, maybe that's why they call it a cult, right? Like it's not even. Part of it, a bit. Part of it is the capital part, right? Like people want to make money, but the other part is literally the emotional. Like, I believe in. Like the values of the community. Like I want to be a part of, even if the price is going down, I want to be a part of this thing. This is the movement part, that part of it too. So I could believe, there's, whatever, 30%, 20, 30, 40% of people who actually have stakes. A lot of people in HEX, they don't have, some people in HEX, some people in the community don't have much HEX at all. And some people don't stake or otherwise, but the people who actually stake for 15 years, me believing that somewhere 20 to 40% of people in the community, it feels that way. It feels like there are people who would be around no matter what, and they plan on being around no matter what for the next 10 to 15 years. So that is very cool to see. Like it's like a confirmation where you feel the community is that strong, no matter when crypto Twitter tries to tell you otherwise. But that's funny. People can fight all they want, but their bags say they'll be here for a long time. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I feel the same. It actually kind of like, it is kind of like a confirmation, of why do we have so many streamers? Why do we have so many people talking about it, being passionate about it? I mean, not because they stake for 15 years, no, because they, at the bottom of the bear market in November, there were a lot of people who said, well, guess what? I will believe in this. I think this is a great product. And they stake for 15 years. And that since PulseChain launched, there are still people on Ethereum staking for 15 years as a new person. That also says something. Even if it you can see that we flattened out here recently.
Right.
Yeah, basically this year. Let's say especially around like PulseChain launch, we started flattening.
I think the whole not staking. Okay, so there's a gas problem. Sure, let's acknowledge today there is a gas problem. If you have a smaller stake, it may be unprofitable to in-stake it later on. I get that part. However, if you have, I talked about, it's been a long time since I talked about it. I think it's like 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 HEX at the time. Maybe it's like 1 million HEX now. That's like the safe way to, no matter what the gas fees are, like based on projections and stuff, like, those kind of stakes are different than the small stakes that'll be super unprofitable. Like, you're almost, that's why pool staking, that's why Maximus, all this stuff exists, to reduce the gas fees, to make everything, all the small stakes, into one big stake. But if you're already making a big stake, then you don't need pooling for that, right? Like, you don't need pooling if you're going to make huge stakes. Like, you can do it, but it's not nearly as beneficial as the small stakes. So that part is one where you make bigger stakes. You can, staking on Ethereum can still make sense. And then two, we don't know the Ethereum gas prices in the future. Like, these guys are pretty good at what they do, and they keep inventing more stuff to make it more affordable, more usable, all the stuff in the future. If I'm betting on Vitalik, let's say I'm long Richard Hart, but I'm long Vitalik too. I think he's gonna figure out some stuff to, there gonna be new paradigms in the next decade or so, that even hex stakes that are even smaller have a chance to be, not get murdered with the gas fees later on. Now, I'm not saying we should plan for that, but I'm saying what the current state of technology is today, I don't think it'll be exactly the same, and there's a good chance that that some of the gas fees could be more reasonable in the future. Now, am I telling people to stake on ETH 5555? I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm saying look at how much you're doing it for, and then I think the super opposing argument of not doing it and only doing it on PulseChain is kind of, I don't know, I think it's missing some information. So that's what I'll say on that.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah. You said we got a question here too, or a statement that maybe you can speak to. So many of these stakes are so small, though I don't believe the date of that much. So I think maybe the point in this one is, how many of these do we know how many of these stakes are just like super tiny HSIs, for example, versus people who, I guess if we could extrapolate the number, like, what percentage of people do you think are like, millions of hex versus, like hundreds of hex on some of these, the believers chart?
I mean, I didn't look into that data, but I have another graph where you see a distribution of principal locked, average principal locked per stake days, kind of. And there we could check that right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let me just switch.
Awesome new chart, by the way. That's an awesome believers chart. Appreciate you putting that together.
I'm happy you like it.
Fast Abdul, hanging on every word. What's going to happen next? You're going to see. You're going to see fast. We got some more data coming up.
Okay, there we go. Why do you see the chart 2 times? It's because this is kind of like a comparison dashboard for me. So I could basically compare 2 different time frames with each other. We can actually do that if you want.
Okay.
But yeah, just concentrate maybe on one. What you can see here is basically hex staked, and these bars are distributed for 125 days. These are buckets of 125 days, staked days. So what you can see is that people who are in the range of staking between 1 days and 125, they in average stake 4.4 million hex, kind of. And then we can go to the last bucket, which are the 15-year stakers, and we can see an average of principal of 135K, 135,000. How much is that with current prices?
$5.
Wait, it's not 1,000. It's like
I'm gonna say a few hundred.
Yeah, 300, something like that on Ethereum, and on PulseChain, 800, 700, something like that. So, yeah, what do you think about the size? I mean, it's not the smallest from all the buckets. It's also not the largest. It's, of course, the largest is the very short-term stakes. But what I find surprising is that actually here, we have around 10 years, we have a spike of, where the average principal is around 750K.
So you said after 10 years?
Around 10 years.
Around 10 years. And you just explained that too for people listening as well. After 10 years, is it because the stakes are ending and everyone's getting, are we expecting them to end the stakes too, or is this already kind of factoring that in?
Sorry, again?
Oh, I was saying for this one, can you just, after 10 years, what do we expect? What is happening as far as the stakes are ending and people are getting it back into their wallets, or what exactly is after 10 years is happening?
I mean, this is just a distribution of, it looks into, if people stake 10 years, then what is the average staking amount, basically? So people who kind of stake for 10 years, they usually, at average, they stake 750. That's what this chart shows.
Gotcha. Okay. I was sorry, I was getting confused. I was thinking this was stakes coming out after 10 years, and what people would hold in their wallet. Okay. Gotcha.
That would be a different chart, but we were talking about, how small are these stakes. So I thought I have this chart where basically you can see kind of in average how big or small they are. And the 15 years one in average are not that small. I mean, 135K is not that small. Of course, with current prices, it seems to be small, but it's not even $1. It's even $500. So I think it's an okay amount, even with current prices. Yeah, but imagine 10x that, then you have 5K stake for 15 years in average.
Wow, that's interesting. 10 years. And what is so I see the first bar, it looks much larger than the other ones.
Yeah.
What's that one?
Yeah, it's the short-term stakers, like the 30 days, the monthly stakers, or the 2 months or 3 months stakers. And you can basically see that people who stake in this shortly usually stake 4.4 million. Like, that's what they stake in average.
Those are the 30-day whales we see from tweets every once in a while.
Exactly. They roll over. I mean, you can see that basically every month it's coming out and they kind of roll it over into the next month. And
so why is that, you think, too? Because I don't know, is it they just want even if you say, okay, they want the flexibility, why do they want the flexibility? If they see do they really just want to check the market conditions every month to decide what they want to do with it?
I mean, if you at least buy a crypto, right? I mean, if you're a kind of like a trader mentality, you might expect it to hold maybe at least for a month. I mean, it would be great to see like the average period of these traders, basically how long do they hold until they sell. It would be interesting to see. But maybe it's not even the 30-day stakers. Maybe there are just people who know, okay, at least for a week, the chart will not result into a conclusion for a week, but I can get some yield. Maybe that's how they think, you know?
And they pick staking yield over LP or like even so. The fact that they're keeping HEX is actually interesting. Have you thought about that any? Like they're actually keeping HEX to get yield on it. Why are they keeping HEX? Like why the people who have okay, let me frame it like this. The whales who are rolling over stakes on a regular basis short term, why are they doing it with HEX when they could be doing it with anything else that would give them yield? Do they literally consider that like the least risky thing they can hold to get yield? Like how do you think they think about that?
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, this is like high speculation because I actually did not look into the data. I'm just trying to get into mentality of maybe people who hold that short terms that much.
Because they could have sacked it for another project. They could be doing LP with it. They could already got it. They could put it in stable coins even.
I don't think that these are these players. I think these are mostly people who, want to get in and out, and they see the charts and they know, okay, maybe we get some signals in 1 month. So for 1 month, I can get some yield on top of that. Or they might not even know that there's a penalty to it, you know? And that would be interesting to see that for these short-term stakers, how many of them have actually penalties. Maybe they got used in other protocols, they just can withdraw anytime, or thing is, I didn't look into it, so it's just like pure randomly speculating.
Yeah. No, I'm always trying to think because I see people making the short 30-day, and I mean, it's not like it doesn't make any sense. I'm just always thinking like why HEX is, I don't know, to me, HEX is this long-term product. Like it's something you stake for a longer. Yeah, you can trade it. Obviously, people do that. Yeah, you can do short-term stakes, especially you're going to get paid doing them if you got lots and lots of HEX to do it for. Even if you don't do the longer pays better, you can still get the bigger pays better. But I'm always wondering, like, are they waiting for some signal? They're looking at the Fed raising rates and they're like, okay, now I'm going to roll it over for another year, or now I'm going to, here's the time to get out when I see the Fed keeps raising rates, for example. Now it's time to dump it. Like what? I always wonder like what signal they're waiting for and how they, what action they're going to take once they see it.
I've seen some who like some addresses who had like longer stakes for in the beginning of HEX, and now their time frame is getting shorter. You can already see that like on another chart, which is about basically the stake length per month, the average stake length per month. You can open that up as well. And there you can see how basically within the system, we really dropped and people are like, it would be interesting to see when it dropped. It might be that since the Fed raised interest rates, it might be. Should we check?
Yeah. Before we go that real quick, I got a question I think could be interesting for this too. Could outliers like DESI and Max be moving average on these charts? How do you factor in the Maximus, bonds? How do you factor in those coins for HEX and the decisions people make, whether they're staking longer or shorter, or just using the other coins to do stuff with?
Yeah, I mean, for now, they are considered to be one stake in all of these charts. But as you already pointed out, it would be interesting to see to consider it a bit differently. Like when you buy, for example, Maxi or DESI, then you're actually liquid staking. So maybe you should consider it as a staking, and when you sell it, you end the stake. You could kind of consider that. And maybe the charts would show us some interesting thing that maybe staking is at its peak, because if you think like that, maybe. That's something that I already had in mind to do at one point. but I need the data for from the perpetuals and the Maximus contracts, which I hadn't planned, but currently I'm focusing on getting the PulseChain data, basically the PHEX data, because then you can compare EHEX and PHEX side by side. I think that's great. I think that's what most people are interested in. So that's why I'm doing that currently. And later on, I would love to do that.
Yes, please let me know when you have the PHEX data. I would love to have you on here talking about it for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. What's the next chart?
The next chart?
Yeah.
Could be any, but we're talking about staking length. I could bring that up.
Yeah.
And here we go. All right. This yellow chart in the middle, that's the average of the new stakes length per month. So each data point is basically the average of a month. And what you can see here at the beginning, we were starting around 1,100 days. And yeah, I mean, it grew. And at the beginning in 2021, we reached one of our peaks, basically around 2,180 days. And then in 2021, we dropped, actually, at the highest, we didn't even have such a high average of stake length. But after our high, when in what was it? In March 2022, interesting. When after the PulseX sacrifice, people started staking again for very long times. And then we went a bit down, but we went again back up in August 2022. I mean, it's also related to like HSI launch, right? And ICOSA launch around that time. So that might drag a little bit up the averages. Yeah, and then let's say basically this year we started dropping. Like in December 2022, last December, we still had like 1,500 days as an average length. And since then, we're kind of continuously dropping. And maybe if you find a bottom here, I mean, September is not over, but as a sneak peek, September is already higher than August, and August was just slightly higher than July. So maybe we form like a bottom in this chart. What do you think about it?
Do you think that we look at the price chart, it's the chart of emotions, but when I look at the staking charts and stuff, I also see it's like a chart of sentiment in a lot of ways. Like at the PulseX sacrifice, everything's going great, let's go. And then you see we kind of hit the lows around the SEC and all that stuff, down, and then now maybe people are like, oh, okay, maybe it's not so bad. We got the community still around, still going great. I know we have some of the big events like Hedron launching, ICOSA and stuff, which you could also factor sentiment into those as well. But inevitably or implicitly, there more HSIs are going to be able to, you're at least incentivized to be made, and otherwise, and all the mechanisms they do to on the 5555. But yeah, it just seems like when I'm looking at the staking, it seems like a lot of sentiment changes, and we can see the numbers go up and down based on that. Is that what you also see, or is there more to it?
hidden sentiment. Because in the sense of when you look at, for example, our all-time high, yeah, around September, it wasn't the highest average staking length. So it's kind of like an indication. Maybe if I would have had that chart and I'm looking at it and I'm looking at September, we're at all-time high, but the average stake length is not all-time high. Maybe I would have thought, you know, people actually don't think that now in the short term it makes sense to stake. Maybe they want to sell. Maybe that could have been an indication. So kind of like a hidden sentiment, maybe. And maybe also here, like if you look at March 2023, interesting because we made a really great bounce. Like it was great. We made a golden cross. Like Bitcoin did a golden cross, Ethereum did a golden cross. Look nice. But the people didn't stake in average all-time high. They didn't. Maybe if I would have had the chart, maybe I could have seen it. So you are, I feel like you have a great point. It's like a sentiment chart, but maybe a hidden sentiment.
Yeah, very interesting. Got a question from Russ here too. Expect average stake length between Ethereum and PulseChain to diverge due to gas? We talked about gas a little bit before, but I'll let you take this one. I guess maybe short term. Maybe we can look, you know, within the next 1 to 5 years instead of long term. You know, long term, it's hard. First of all, it's hard to predict. Second of all, I believe, I think Ethereum will make a lot of improvements where, you know, it may be feasible to do it later. Not guaranteeing it, not banking, you know, all my money on it. But however, I think it's easier to look, you know, maybe next few years on this question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It would be great to see the data. I think they have higher. I would think that they have a higher average, but maybe not that much higher. I also have an interesting thought about, because I just thought of myself that why didn't I stake really long recently? And I'm thinking, well, recently I looked at those perpetuals and I'm like, oh, such a nice discount, right? And then you can get really nice stakes for a great discount. And I'm not sure since when, do you know since when we have these discounts on the perpetuals?
I think there were super deep discounts for the last few months. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, but maybe this year, did we have discounts this year, all year?
I remember Maxi was like super heavily down. Perpetuals, I'm pretty sure they all wasn't what was it? Base or Trio was like trading below the HEX price for a while. I think one of those, if I remember.
Well, I think Desi still does pretty much lower, right?
I haven't checked it for a while, but I could believe it. Yeah.
I recently checked it, and Desi I think has the biggest discount currently, and had it for a while. But maybe because of these discounts, I mean, of course, there might be an additional risk of a smart contract risk, right? When you use the perpetuals, but they might be really robust. You know, if one is really robust, we will see, like, you know, if everything goes well with base now in a couple of weeks, and then, you know, with time we just see if they're robust or not. And if they're robust, then yeah, it's a great alternative. But maybe a lot of people already consider this and buy that instead of staking newly. So if I would have that data, I could make a second chart where I would say that everybody buying like Maxi or Desi or Base or Trio would be also going into this chart as an average staking length. And then maybe you wouldn't see a drop. Maybe it would just continue to be around here.
What do you think? So, I mean, great points on Maximus too, where, I mean, I love those guys, the products and stuff. They're doing so many amazing pieces for the community. I think a lot of people aren't putting, for example, millions of dollars into it. A lot of people are sticking with HEX because it is newer. HEX is proven. These are products that are built on the blue chips, but they haven't, maybe once base comes around and people say, oh, this thing actually, it actually works, like that sort of thing. It can help them, feel better about locking even more and more money into it. Do you think once base comes up, you will see the DESI discount disappear? Is that a catalyst for that, or do you think something else needs to happen?
Yeah, I think that one would be basically great to see. I think that gives confidence, because in theory, we can all think of how it will work, but then when you see it working, then you get the confirmation. So also that I would say the second is, and it's important for large players, especially because large players would likely to, I think they would more likely to stake throughout HEX, like natively, because it's the less risk of all of the risks. And they don't care about gas costs, not even on Ethereum if they're big. But yeah, any other contract on top of it would give more smart contract risk, even if it's audited, because audits are not perfect. They are really the best what we can do. So yeah, I think if base comes around and it works nicely and people see that it works, then I think we can see those discounts disappear, as well as maybe the theory that as a rational investors, you would buy those things up first. So if those discounts disappear, something similar with Grayscale Bitcoin, if the discount disappears, maybe that's when we go into a bull market.
Are they just, so another thing with the perpetuals and all the derivatives, the Maximus, is it kind of, are people thinking, are they just naturally not inclined to buy those, even if, okay, we say that the rational investor is like, okay, I'm getting a discount on future HEX with this should be like theoretically worth more because it's getting the yield and all this stuff going on. So, but that isn't usually when people buy a new token. It's like, I'm buying this because I want number to go way up. I want to get all the X's, all the mad gains and stuff. Is it literally that switch of like, I'm buying this token that first I'm taking the extra risk because it's not HEX, no matter what it is. But also I'm not getting the mad gains from it. I'm just getting, maybe I'm getting extra 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. But is that the hump that they're also like either subconsciously or otherwise they're trying to get over to actually, buy some of the perpetuals and otherwise, because they buy a coin for mad gains, not just to get, the baby gains that you get with the perpetuals, even though the rational investor is like, yeah, that's totally the right choice theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, mostly there are many different types of actors, and you described one profile, basically. One which sounds to me like a gambler, kind of.
Got a few of those around.
For sure, in crypto many. But I think there are kind of like rational like people who would like who see the discount. Maybe they are into HEX for a long time, like me. Maybe they have a staking ladder like me. And then they look at it and they're like, that Decimus has a nice discount and it fits into my staking ladder pretty nicely. Then they might buy it instead of staking. And maybe they just allocate a portion of their HEX into that to not have big amount of risk. That could be another profile, but there are other profiles who are so big that maybe liquidity providing is a much better option for them. The bigger you are in a token, the more maybe it makes sense to provide liquidity. So there are those players. There are builders, right? Try to, yeah. So but going back to the perpetuals, I think the perpetuals are not a token for like those gambler types, because also liquidity is very thin on them. So I wouldn't say that that's something for them. It's more like for hexicans who have staking ladders, who want to have a long stick.
I mean, you could say like, why is the Hedron ecosystem, bigger than the Maximus, even though there's like 10 Maximus products, but only like 2 or 3 Hedron. Although we love Alex and all that stuff too, and the products being built are fantastic. V2's coming out; it's going to be wild too. I'm very excited for that. But like, I think it's literally, it attracts more people because they know, or at least they think, there's different ceilings and limits and stuff like that with Hedron and Icosa and otherwise too. But at least it seems like Hedron can go to the moon, but Maximus could only if Hex goes to the moon, Maximus can give me a little bit better than Hex. Maximus speaking for all the different derivative products in there. So I think that's the piece that's kind of that cog turning in people's head of like, should I join this community, which could be Moon, or should I join this community, which is awesome, but probably not Moon unless Hex moons again. But then why don't I just buy Hex and I got to do this other, smart contract risk, all that stuff too. So I guess maybe a commentary on the psychology of people joining communities, products, tokenomics, and derivatives. The whole factors in. But yeah, the investors see it as, hey, I'm getting a discount. I like discounts. I like making money. Let me buy this thing, assuming they're okay with the tolerance for risk part.
Yeah. Well, I like both projects, but they're very different from each other. And I think their use cases are very different. So I'm seeing the perpetuals and Maximus ecosystem as an extension of HEX and using HEX and staking ladders and things like that. Whereas Hedron Icosa, buying those tokens, not really, they are more speculative in nature.
Okay.
They are and because they're more speculative in nature, and you don't know, you don't have a certainty that in 10 years you get those HEX out from that, and HEX has this big amount of liquidity and community. So if you don't have that certainty, then what do you have? You have actually uncertainty. And if you have uncertainty, you have more speculation. So when you buy Hedron and Icosa, it's definitely just a different game. They're also extending HEX, of course, with some use cases. And I hope V2 is coming along, because I think it tries to fix some of the problems with Hedron and Icosa. But even with Hedron and Icosa having currently problems, they did very well in the bear market, I would say.
Yeah.
They hold their value, at least against HEX, pretty well.
Yeah, I think
so.
I'm very excited to see these products in a bull market. That's the funny thing. We have not seen any of them in a bull market other than HEX yet. And we got a lot of stuff built on HEX, and then we got PulseChain too to figure that out. That's gonna be, if and when it comes, gonna be nice. Gonna be interesting.
Definitely.
Do you want to pull up? Maybe we'll do like one more chart. So what's what as far as growth and stuff goes? Number go up. Is there a chart you want to put up there? And then before we move on to talk about PulseChain a little bit afterwards.
Let me search a growth chart.
The people like number go up. We gotta feed them. I try to feed them with actual data and not hopium. That's my ultimate goal. It's like I'm not gonna just tell you and do all these things. I can show you on a chart, and you can decide for yourself whether you like it or not.
True. I love that. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Growth chart. I mean, oh, I had one. Where is that? Okay, that's pretty nice. I wanted to show a nice one.
Yeah, just for everyone listening, this is not a memeable moment where we're trying to look hard to find hex growth. He has so many options, he's trying to find the best one, right?
Yeah, and maybe one which I didn't tweet yet this month,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I have one here.
Twitter too, just so people can see some more charts. Okay, here we go.
So, yeah, while staking is getting less popular on HEX, while that is going on, actually the average staked HEX, stake principal per month, is going up actually very rapidly, as you can see, especially here now in July, August, September. September, it's actually really massive. So, I mean, it's not September, it didn't conclude, we only have half of September, but 2.3 million HEX were staked in average in September. That's pretty nice.
Wow.
And yeah, in August, it was already at 1.9. It also makes sense that when priors go down, that actually the amount of staking goes up. So this chart is since big payday, because obviously at big payday you have a really big spike up, especially because the OA also staked all of its HEX.
Yeah, outside the OA, why is this? Just to clarify for people too, why was there a big spike afterwards? Was that sentiment or otherwise?
No, it was just in that November, because it just made sense to stake, because you were getting basically a double for free, just if you stake for 1 or 2 days. So it made sense for everybody to stake, and all that big amount liquid HEX was just kind of staked. And therefore, in average, you got this really spike up chart, which just destroyed the chart. So that's why I excluded it. But yeah, since then, I mean, let's see. Yeah, the bottom of this chart is September 2021. So when a lot of people came in and they staked, yeah, the average was actually pretty low. And now the people basically, they actually didn't leave. We get a lot of new people.
But is that too? Is that too because it was lower because HEX, the price was up, so they could get a hold of less of it?
Sorry, yeah.
So did the times where they were staking lower, was that where the price was hitting like all-time highs or like much higher, so they literally couldn't stake as much because they couldn't get as much HEX?
I think so. And because a lot of new people maybe also got in. Like here you see a low in September 21. There's another low in March 2022. That's after PulseX sacrifice. We have another low here in August 2022, which is interesting.
I guess the tell.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And now in March 2023, 3. I guess when maybe a lot of people are staking, you know, I think that's when the average goes down. And when fewer people are staking, then usually you only get like the bigger people who stake, maybe even their short-term stakes. And that's why it goes up very much.
Yeah, well, the tail end too is Hex being so cheap compared to, you know, all its other time in history, other than in the beginning, is that increasing the net. Is that why we see like a big tail at the end going up? Because people.
Yeah, I guess you can easier acquire more HEX now and stake it. So the average of the staking should go up. Yeah, I mean, it would be bad if it would stay down. Like the price goes down and it doesn't go up.
Right.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
That
would
means
be like
nobody's
the price is
picking,
down and nobody's picking it up. Yeah.
nobody's picking it up to stake it. Yeah. So actually, it's great to see that it's going up, but it should come down basically slowly. I guess when more people start staking basically again.
No, it's great to see it go up like that, because, you know, I think people are realizing like they can get more of it. And, you know, especially if they already have a lot of people. I mean, when they came in 2021 or so, price was so high, they staked. A lot of them staked for, you know, 5, 10, 15 years, some for a few years, but they didn't stake very much. They staked plenty at the time, but now it's not worth nearly as much as it used to. We hope it goes back somewhere near there, but now you see the prices are down so much that you can pick up, you know, 1 million HEX for, you know, $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the chain, and you're able to, that's a good. I think that's a bullish, like, cool growth indicator for me, is people still believe. They see the cheap prices and it doesn't make them think it's going to die. The stakers, at least, it makes them think this is, you know, cheap T-shares sort of deal.
Yeah. And another great chart, I saw the sneak peek above, which is also about staking. It wasn't here. Okay. Yeah, a second. I'll put it up.
Sure.
I will also need to go slowly.
Okay.
Maybe I have another 15 minutes.
Oh, go shortly. Gotcha. Okay. Yes, we will wrap it up on this and get some final, maybe spend just a few minutes on PulseChain. We'll call it a day. It's been a great one, man.
Yeah, I'm having fun. You know, you can invite me anytime to discuss charts. I'm iterating over them, trying to make it better, trying to deliver even daily content. It's actually pretty hard to provide daily content.
Yes.
You must know it. You are, I can see you're doing every day video or every second day video. That's hardcore.
Yes, I'm proud to be part of the hardcore club. I know it's not only me doing it, so yeah, I appreciate your efforts too there. Boom.
Boom. So this is main activity by month. Here, this chart, all over lifetime. And I shared it recently for August data, but I thought I saw already September data. And an interesting thing is that staking is 30% of all the activity. But activity is decreasing overall. Within that activity, staking activity is basically growing, but we also have to state that most of the trading is happening on PulseX. So this is all Ethereum data. So if HEX is basically traded on PulseX, it's not in here. So yeah, consider it as to be lower. But on Ethereum, what's happening with HEX, 30% in September is actually staking activity, which is nice.
Wow. So the stake. So we know what staking part is. The administer, is that just either interacting with the contract in some way, either good accounting or ending the stake, just kind of everything else.
Good accounting and any mistake is considered to be staking activity. That's another thing.
Oh, okay. So what does administer mean?
Administer is really pure transfers, like where money is like transferred, or bridged, like bridging. That also belongs basically there. Yeah, I think only these two are administer. That's why you see a spike of administer activity in May. All of those bridge activity.
What happened in May again?
I don't know. Some chain launched.
I thought mid-May 2022 something was supposed to happen. Mid-May 2023 something happened.
Yeah, mid-May 2022, everything got delayed.
The delay, and then mid-May 2023, the pumpamental for like 3 weeks or something. We got almost a 3x out of PulseChain, and then that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Wow, this is really cool to see the distribution of activity on this, though. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is LP, does LP fit into one of these categories? Or are you tracking LP?
Yeah, I'm currently at P. At P must be under swap activity. So it's considered like trading. Okay, it's not really swap, but it's considered to be related to swap activity. But yeah, that would be interesting to like distinguish if it's notable, if it's a notable percentage. Because I have actually a chart. It's currently not in a good shape, but I have a chart where the main activity is distributed to like many different activities. So you can see like Uniswap, you can see MetaMask swapping, you can see Matcha, 1inch.io swapping. You can see even end staking, start staking, all of these kind of distributed.
Oh. Very interesting. Yeah. Good.
At another time.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not going to be the last conversation we have. I definitely want to. You've been added to the list of smart people to have on the show, sir, for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's nice of you to say.
Of course. Yeah, especially I know the people are begging for more PulseChain data, and you said you were working on that as well. LP data. I mean, I could, if everyone, if you're watching this on the replay, comment too if you want. If there's specific stats and data sources and stuff you want Ben to look for stats from. I'm sure he's up for some feedback and for people to give some ideas of where they're finding the information valuable and stuff. And we'll definitely, I want to come back on, especially in October. When do you think you have PulseChain data? Just, I mean, is it something you're like getting closer on, or I'm just wondering,
Yeah, I mean, of course, I wanted to do it a long time, but in summer I didn't work on that specifically. I didn't have time, and now in September I started. And first, I needed to kind of like organize a little bit some of my pipelines to make it a little bit more efficient. Now comes the other part, where I'm restructuring my node but I make it very custom, and I want to make it cheaply. And it's a challenge. I mean, of course, I can put some more money into it, but I like the challenge of having just one node which runs an Ethereum node and a PulseChain node with the least amount of money you can do it. It's a nice challenge. And then, of course, something can get wrong in there, so it might take longer than I expect. But then all the pipelines are basically ready. So maybe end of October, beginning of November, everything is loaded for PHEX.
Q3. That's going to be, I'd be interested too, next time you come on to talk about your pipeline and just how you get the data. If you're, unless it's a secret sauce, trade secret type of thing, I'd be curious to, I think people will be interested to see like how you actually are talking to these things to get the data.
Yeah. Next time we can go deeper, but the initial version of the stuff, I already made many adjustments to it. But the initial version of the pipeline, it's like only the data pipeline. I open sourced it. It's on GitHub, but it's hard to use. Like people try to use it, and it starts with you have to run your own node. And back then, PulseChain didn't launch, and nobody ran their Ethereum node, or only a couple of people. And even then, it needs to be configured in a specific way. And I also didn't make it too intuitive to run it. But basically, it extracts the data from the node, and it's only HEX data. So it just like cleans everything else, gets only the HEX data into a PostgreSQL database, and it structures it in a way for afterwards to query it in a much easier way, basically for an analytical purpose. Yeah, and that initial thing is kind of open source. Since then, I made adjustments, and yeah, in a nutshell.
I'd love to talk about it. You're talking nerdy, and I worked in tech for a long time. It sounds like you're an economics / dev over there. I would definitely like to talk more about that.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah. Bitcoin inspired me to learn.
Bitcoin inspires us all, man. Seriously, it all starts with again, that's why I don't hate on Bitcoin. I think HEX is as we talked about earlier, it's a superior product and to everything else, really. I mean, you could even make a case for HEX over. People have made cases for HEX over PulseChain. Even outside of you can talk about tokenomics side, you can talk about otherwise, but I mean, it starts with HEX with me, and it's one of those things that you can't replace it. That's what the craziest thing is. Like you cannot, people try to build copycats or build other products that are similar or otherwise. You can't replace the product, and you can't replace the community around it. And that's the two things we have over every other crypto community or any other crypto product is the community, and we have the code the community can use to better themselves in so many different ways. But I want to ask you.
Absolutely right.
I want to ask you one more question before we wrap up, and definitely want to get another stream going, maybe sometime in October as well. PulseChain, what do you feel like is? Let's just do it like this. We'll go in a little bit more depth next one, but what for the rest of the year can you see? Are you excited about PulseChain? Like, is it the products launching?
Yeah.
Is it just getting further down the SEC stuff? Like what excites you about PulseChain the rest of 2023?
SEC stuff. That's so American. Here in Europe, we don't care about that.
I like European hexagons. They don't even care about any of that stuff. I like it. Okay, all right, I like that.
I mean, in the end, it's a product that's decentralized. I understand that psychologically, especially for American crypto enthusiasts, it's something. It looks bad, or it's dragging, or whatever. But in Europe, nobody says that it is a security. Nobody said about any other cryptocurrency that it's a security. So it's, in Europe, you don't have that.
It's a very interesting perspective, actually.
And I guess in other parts of the world, they might also not care about that. I mean, of course, we care to some degree because America is so important for the world and is currently going through some rough changes.
But why do people care in general? Like is it just literally because it could hurt the price? Is that why anyone even cares about the SEC stuff? Or so you don't think it's existential? You think it's more of like, yeah, it's just bad news. Like not even bad news. It's just not, I don't know how to say it, like not a fun thing to deal with, but it's kind of like isolated from what from the product itself. Is that what you think about it?
Yeah, it's definitely isolated for me. Everything that is decentralized survived these attacks of government, and it would be very bad if America goes really against crypto and has a short-term win against the crypto industry. But in other parts of the world, I think it will do well. Like in other parts of the world, they're using, I think, cryptos to save them against inflation. Like I think Argentinians, for example, they know a lot about crypto. And I guess other parts of the world as well.
It's really refreshing perspective just to hear of not the what are we going to, it's like instead of saying what are we going to do about this, it's more of like the code, it still works, like, and no matter what happens, it's like it's not going to be universally, it's almost laughable first of all, the part about America being not friendly to crypto is almost like a joke at this point. It's like, yeah, Garrett, you got the SEC commissioner there, he's doing his thing right now, we got elections coming up, it all just seems like this stuff cannot pass. There's no future where I see where America's not friendly with crypto, especially in the next 4 years. I can't see it. It just sounds ridiculous. And even if it was, like you said, the rest of the world not affected, like that sort of thing. There's a huge, bright perspective from that part. So SEC can't kill the HEX contract. I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. And it can't kill the community. We still strong. We are so strong. It's incredible.
And I had a HEX website on at the beginning of the year. I took it down later on. It cost, we can go into that at another time.
Sure.
But I saw the traffic, and it's really around the world. Like Hexicans are amazing from all around the world. I had some anonymized traffic, which I was open about, just to know if there is anybody, viewing my website or not. And I can tell you that, like, just from everywhere around the world. It's really nice to see.
Do you think, and yeah, we'll wrap up on this, like, do you think, just continue on the PulseChain, do you think PulseChain, what does it do for HEX? Yeah, your 2-minute explanation, like what does it do for HEX that we didn't have before? You could say the gatekeeping part, we get rid of that, or you could see the bringing more people in or broaden the community. There's pros and cons of both ways, but what does PulseChain actually do for HEX, and why is it a good thing for the HEX community to have PulseChain and the products being built on it?
It brings ease of use. It's I had the feel when I'm using PulseChain, I have the feeling like I'm using Ethereum in 2018. Like, it's just so nice to use it. It's not overclocked. I don't have to look at what the, when I end stake on Ethereum, I always have to look at the prices at the time of day. When do I do it to get the good deal of when to do it? And it takes time away of my day. And PulseChain, it's just ease of use. You just do it whenever you want to do it. And that feeling, you can't get it anywhere else in a decentralized way. So that's,
I like that. Well said. Well said. PulseChain, just do it. I like that one. That's a new t-shirt. I like it. All right, man. Excellent conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. Definitely, like I said, won't be the last one. Yeah, we got to get you back on the show to talk more stuff, especially the charts and stats and you definitely seem to be a true Hexagon, like at heart. It's not just about, the money's, we all love price go up, but like you're here in the bear market talking about this stuff with me and everyone else, like you're a Hexagon. So that's cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, I came out during this bear market, basically. This year, basically. But I actually had a content before, but I just wasn't consistent with it. Like even in the first month, I had a Telegram group channel called, I think it was called t.me HEX Stats, and I think I even had like 200 OG hexagons in there, and nobody's doing anything on it anymore. But I was posting actually daily statistics in the first month, but it was all manual. I just scrapped it together, and then all the nice websites came up, and I'm like, all right, if they do it, like I just stopped doing this Telegram group here. And yeah, so I was just very sparsely, doing content because I didn't find enough time. And then started working in 2021 with all the data pipelines. And then now they bring a lot of value. Now I can bring a lot of content. And I don't like to bring content for the sake of content. Just if I have something new that people haven't seen, then I bring it. That's kind of my...
I like that. And I think, as you said before, we have a lot in common in that for sure. Very cool, man.
And you have great content in so many different areas. Like you did security recently. I just saw the video titles, haven't checked them out.
I did security week. Yeah, the security week, validators, validator AMAs, going on like almost 30 of those. It's crazy. I'm like, wow, did I really do 30 of those? How many hours I spend going through validator stuff? But it's paid off. Like that we have so many. It really does make me happy when I see people say, hey, like, your scripts helped me create a validator. Like I'm up and running because you did this. Like that's the cool part. Like I want to have utility, and I want, like you said, in a few different ways, content creation and otherwise. But it is cool when you see you're actually helping people and you're uplifting the community. You're having true utility because people are like telling you, like, hey, like as you said, you mentioned before too, like you can tell somebody something and theoretically it should work and all this stuff, but when you see it actually happen, you're like, wow, that's why I'm here. Like that feels good. So, but Ben, where can people find you? We got Ben Sierra Pro on Twitter. I had that up there a second ago. And then, do you have any more content or any other links or otherwise?
No, just go there. I mean, I have the Telegram group called t.me HEX Data. Basically, that's actually a Telegram group where I also post basically the charts, and then there are some other people in it, and we sometimes discuss the charts. So
is this the one, HEX Data?
I think without the D. Let me just check.
Data.
One moment.
Okay.
So that's a nice way how to interact. Yeah. HEX Data. Exactly.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah,
if you look
these
at
2 spots for now.
Awesome. If you click on media, you can just go through and see all the charts and stuff that Ben has posted, and a lot of great work. Definitely showing his utility in the community. And man, everyone go check out Ben's stuff and follow him if you're interested in charts. I know I've been following him for a while. This is on my other account, on my actual account. This is just my streaming account, so that's why it doesn't show. You know what? Boom! You're getting followed on this account too. Nothing that matters.
Thank you.
Plus one for Ben. Plus one for Ben. All right, everyone. That's all we got for you today. Hope I don't know, unless I decide to go stream later. You never know. But we got a bunch of people coming up later on. Tomorrow we got RG3. As I said, Thursday Axis. I'll be on DeFi Down Under talking security on there as well. Friday, hard to say. Next week, got some more coming up. But Ben, we'll have to get you back on the schedule, man, to come back. Even regardless of PulseChain data, definitely want to have PulseChain data. But even before then, I want to have another conversation because I think you got a lot of cool stuff to talk about.
Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. I like your content. I like that you actually invite people from other communities. I've seen, I don't know, was it this Uniswap Fish or how it's called? Was he on your channel?
Oh, that was Sloth actually. Yeah, that guy.
That was Sloth.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
But you had another guy who was like not in the HEX community, I think.
Are you talking about in crypto or just in generally?
You had just some crypto people who were not Hexicans, not even PulseChain on the show.
I'm sure I have. I can't think of the top of my head, but I've had a few, and I've had Aubrey DeGray. You know, we didn't talk about longevity take, and you said you're interested in that. I've had Aubrey. I've had people who've written books before that I like as well. So yeah, I do try to mix that in because again, I'm an RHMaxy for his ideals first of all, and then his products just naturally go with that. So you know, a lot of Richard's ideals around longevity and around just like, you know, being the best version of yourself, like the self-development stuff. I love that, and so that's why I try to you know, the channel's description says become the best version of yourself in DeFi and crypto space. You know, that can be outside of our community and inside as well. So I'm here for excellence, but I'm here for all the values we stand for as well. So anyways, everyone, thank you for joining us. If you're catching the replay, you're going to want to rewind. A lot of good stuff in this one. And yeah, Scivive and 5555. We are out.